Last time on G&T Sailing, we did a mega provisioning run and crossed from Mazatlan, eventually making our way to Bahià de los Muertos. In this episode, we share the realities of an extended stay on anchor, waiting for a weather window to head north. Welcome to G&T Sailing. If you're new here, I'm Gretchen and this is Tim. We've spent the last 2 years refitting Felicita, our Catalina 42, and have finally launched our sailing dream. We don't care where we go, we just care that we go, and we're glad you're coming along for the ride. We have been on this boat almost 7 days, partly because of the crossing, and then we moved anchorages. So we've done a lot of sailing, but we're also sitting in this anchorage with this big norther blowing through. And so that kept us on the boat because it's going to be a pretty splashy, wavy ride into shore. But we're going a little stir crazy. And so we are going to shore, and that is going to involve putting on the weather gear. This is one of the fun realities that nobody tells you about when you go cruising. So, gonna put on my foul weather pants and my jacket. And I pulled Tim's jacket out. Are you ready to go to shore?
Yeah, it's a nice jacket you have there.
Thanks. I like yours too. Let's go for a ride. Okay, just to give you a little sense. Doesn't seem like a lot, but just wait. What's your strategy? Oh my God.
It seems like the wind is even picked up.
Try to block for you. You're not too wet.
Nope. Just gotta go for it, man. Go faster than you think you should and get the bow out of the waves so it doesn't splash back in your face.
Yeah.
It'll be easy right back.
Yeah, definitely. But we're on terra firma. That's quite nice.
It's been a long time, hasn't it? When's the last time we were on land?
Sunday. So we're sitting here in a very windy day in Muertos, waiting for this current norther to blow through. So Tim, how are you spending your days on anchor?
Cooking chili verde to freeze so that we'll have it later when we want to heat up something.
So this is the pork shoulder that we bought in the market in Mazatlan.
Paleta de cerdo, pork shoulder.
Mm. What happens with that stuff?
Magic. Watch this. So you put some cilantro in here.
Mm-hmm. What else is in there?
Several. There's tomatillos, poblanos, Anaheim, serrano peppers, garlic and onion.
What's that?
Fish sauce.
He's the measurer.
This is like
the
I've
engineer.
made this a lot, so I kind of got it down. But I cheat a little and I add a little bit of canned verde sauce. Puree this.
And see, we have outlet because we have a great inverter. So while Tim is cooking, I spent this morning working, digging through email, closed a new project. So putting the team together for that project, getting it kicked off. And now I'm sitting here in the cockpit, even though it is blowing like crazy. You can see the wind out there on the water. I'm sitting here doing some passage planning. One of the big questions is, do we feel like we have enough fuel to get to Puerto Escondido, or do we need to turn left and go around the corner and go to La Paz to refuel before we carry on north? So I've been going back through our logs, looking at our engine hours, and really thinking about how many miles Worst case scenario, if we had to motor every mile between now and Puerto Escondido, if we would have enough fuel, and we have ascertained that it should be fine because we've only motored 14 engine hours since we left Mazatlan. So we're doing really well on our goal to not use a ton of fuel. I've been running weather models. So we've got a window from Sunday and Monday to get 80 nautical miles north to Evaristo, which is where we'll sit for the next norther that's blowing through. Northers blow through like once a week, sometimes twice a week. So you have to leapfrog and get to a good protected anchorage between northers. That's the game here this winter in the Sea of Cortez. So that is our plan. You know it is windy when the snubber is stretched out as far and as much as our snubber is.
You're going to want to taste that chili verde before you freeze it and put it in the bags because it is an exceptionally good batch.
So every morning, Tim does his work.
Wordle.
I'd like to give you your performance review. Look how funny he thinks I am. It might be too early for Tim to be on camera because he's had 2 sips of this and I've had 0 sips of that. But it's a pretty morning here. Lots of boats here, hunkered down. Well, it's Sunday morning, and our original plan was that we would leave here at 5:30 and head to Bonanza today and carry on northward. But looking out in the forecast on Tuesday and Wednesday, there's another norther coming through. I ended up doing a recording of our weather routing thinking, so we'll geek out now. Feel free to skip to the next chapter if going this deep into weather is not your jam. We are currently sitting down here in Muertos, and our objective is to get up here to Evaristo, which is this little hook anchorage right here. And we were going to leave today, just Sunday, go to Bonanza, spend the night there, and then carry on to Evaristo on Monday. But if you watch this forecast, you can see it looks really good. Blues and greens are nice. Blues are actually really light. Green is perfect. But you can see starting Tuesday, it starts to get orange and yellow. And so our thinking was we'd get up here to Evaristo and sit in Evaristo for the norther that's blowing through on Tuesday and Wednesday. So if we put our little flag up there and just run the model on Tuesday, these are wind gusts. So it's calling for gusts to 28. And then it kind of eases up through the nighttime and then comes back during the day on Wednesday, gusts up to 26. But the interesting thing is that if you expand the actual chart, you can see it's showing gusts up to 32, 33. So that's really, really heavy wind. And we've been to Evaristo before, so we know that that would be a good place to be. However, if we got up there and the anchorage was already full of a lot of boats and there was no room for us, there really isn't a great second option nearby for us to hide out. So if you look at the alternative, which is to stay in Muertos, and you run the model for Tuesday during the day, the heavy winds come midday instead of the morning, so it's a little bit less time. Gusts up to 26, so kind of the same story, but not for as long. And then it eases overnight, Tuesday to Wednesday. So it's not just constant for 48 hours. We kind of get a little bit of a reprieve. Then it Picks back up Wednesday afternoon. But if you look at the chart for Muertos, you can see the highest it ever gets on Tuesday is 28 versus getting up into 30s like we saw in Evaristo. Plus, the fact is, we're sitting in Muertos right now. We are already set. We know we've got a spot here. So we're going to sit here for 4 days, hopefully. And hopefully we'll be able to get out of here on Thursday and carry on with our plan. If you run the model on Thursday, there's some wind coming up, but it's not terrible. Nice and green. We'd be in Bonanza, head to Evaristo on Friday. So it's looking pretty good. That plan is looking like it's going to come together, but we'll keep an eye on it. This, incidentally, is the same weather system that sailing vessel Ocean Bound was dealing with when they left Mazatlan on Tuesday, April 4th at 9:30 a.m., bound for Cabo San Lucas.
The urgent search for 3 Americans who disappeared nearly 2 weeks ago while sailing off the coast of Mazatlan, Mexico. According to authorities, Carrie O'Brien, her husband Frank O'Brien, and William Gross plan to leave on April 4th, headed to San Diego aboard this 44-foot sailboat named Ocean Bound. The group also planned to stop in Cabo San Lucas on the 6th for supplies, but they haven't been heard from since they left.
There's no way to know what information the O'Briens were looking at prior to their departure, or what factors played into their decision to shove off. According to news reports and family statements, they were experienced sailors with a capable vessel. Because we were looking at the weather so closely at the same time they likely were, I kept wondering, why did they choose to go out in that? We didn't know the O'Briens, so speaking directly about their decision-making would be pure speculation and frankly unfair Monday morning quarterbacking. But I did have a thought about my own assumptions about the Sea of Cortez when we first arrived. If you've sailed a lot of offshore miles in, say, the Atlantic Ocean or the Caribbean Sea, you might look at that forecast and think 25 to 30 knots, we can handle that. I know I did. But the reality in the Sea of Cortez is that it's a fairly narrow body of water running north to south, kind of like Lake Michigan. So when those north winds kick up, they start pushing the water south for lots of miles, and the water has nowhere to spread out. So the only place for all of that energy to go is up. The waves get big and square and very little time between each peak. It's a reminder to me to seek local knowledge of the waters you're sailing in. We got schooled by the salty dogs and the paws when we first arrived, and the lessons definitely informed our weather routing choices for the entire season. So we've opted, as we do, to take the more conservative route and stay here. But that means that that's gobbling into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days that we were hoping to be making northern progress. That instead we're just sitting in an anchorage that's quite nice, but it's just sitting here. And so it's day 1 million of stuck on anchor. What are you doing?
Cooking chili.
I wish you guys could smell it. It smells so good. And what am I doing, you might ask? Well, I cleaned out the pee tank of our Airhead composting toilet. That was my one productive thing. And now I'm just laying here reading. Can you please explain what's happening here?
Movie time. Showtime.
So we're in Muertos, where we've been for several days.
Muertos.
In Muertos. So we've turned our cockpit into Muertos AMC theaters.
Because we're sick of laying down in the V berth and
Yeah.
got bed sores from watching so much TV in there.
You hear that explosion? What the hell happened? This was not the place.
We are still stuck in Muertos, and today I'm going to attempt to bake some homemade bread. So we'll see how that goes. Is it making you nervous that I'm in your galley doing stuff?
No. But I haven't had coffee yet. Maybe after I have coffee, I will.
All mixed up and covered and ready to rise. It's risen. It's been shaped. The oven is preheating with the Dutch oven in. Now I'm gonna put the dough into the Dutch oven. Well, it looks good and crusty from the outside. How's it sound?
Sounds pretty good.
Let's see how it
Nice
tastes.
and dense.
Okay. Let's see.
Pretty good. For boat bread.
Why does that feel like not a complete compliment? Pretty good for boat bread. Let me tell you, I am so ready to get out of Muertos. And we are going to get to leave tomorrow. And the wind is still blowing like crazy today. But we are leaving the boat and we're going ashore to go to dinner with 2 or 3 other boats that are also here in this anchorage. And then we're headed to Bonanza, where our friends Cruising Maya, check out their YouTube, is gonna be, and we're gonna have dinner and play games with them tomorrow night and see their puppy dog Disco. So that's the plan. We'll see you next time when we bust out of Muertos. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you catch all the episodes of our first season cruising in Mexico, and head over to Instagram for real-time updates. Check out our tracker and more details about our cruising life at gntsailing.com. We'll catch you next time.
Mexico is Sexico!